Standing roughly where the large platform mound was. So it's, as I said earlier, it's been completely excavated. It's all gone now. There's nothing left of it. But if you can imagine standing here 80 years ago, well, it would have been covered in trees, but a large mound 22 feet high and roughly 200 feet square at the bottom on all sides. That's a huge, huge volume of dirt out here on this island. And remarkably, that's not the largest one in East Tennessee. There are several examples of other sites where the mounds were even larger than that. And I worked on another one for TVA a couple years ago that was 30 feet tall, which is one of the largest ones. But this is where the WPA spent roughly a year of their time, was investigating this platform mound. And what was unique about the work they were doing at that time is that they were basically the first generation of scientific archaeologists. Before that, archaeology was largely what we call an antiquarian pursuit, where museums would hire individuals or wealthy individuals to come out and basically pot hunt to get artifacts for their collections, and they would return those to the museums. But the WPA was an important point in American archaeology, because those folks came at it scientifically, and they had to develop new methods for investigating sites like this because no one had done it before. One of the most remarkable things that they figured out was, rather than dig through a mound and just cut it in half, they developed what's called the peeling technique, where they would expose the entire mound surface and they would excavate one level at a time so that they could actually see all those different surfaces as they went through time. They would expose a level at the top, map all of the features, all the posts, all the hearths, all those other things. Then they would peel off the next layer. Sort of like, if you think about an onion. Each time they found a layer, they recorded all the information they could find, and then they peeled it off and they went to the next layer. And in that way, they were able to document changes in the architecture of the buildings. So from the earliest period, the buildings were wall trench construction. I mentioned that earlier, in that the folks would dig a narrow trench and they would set the posts in the trench themselves, pack it with dirt. And sometimes they pull the tops of the poles over to create the structure, and then they used wattle and daub or clay to create the exterior surface. The later occupants out here used a completely different style of architecture, where they didn't dig trenches for their houses. They took big posts and they dug holes and just set those directly in the ground. And all of that information has been documented in the excavation of this mound. And we also see it in the village area out here too. In the small sections that they actually excavated, you see differences in the house styles. And those architectural styles are very, very different, and they tend to correspond very well to different time periods. That wall trench construction is roughly AD 1000 to 1300, and the single post construction starts around AD 1300 and goes all the way to AD 1500. So they were able to document that in this mound. And you're standing right now in what we call, colloquially, downtown Hiwassee. This is the main part of the village area. The mound was here, the plaza was out there. There were individual houses all through this area, all back toward where the boats are, all the way around where the Palisades were. This was a very, very thriving village for about 500 years, with several hundred people at any one time. And this is likely where, well, not likely, it is where Sam Houston spent his time with the Cherokee folks who were here, with Chief Jolly's group. They were on this end of the island. So if you want to, you can walk in the woods here. I wouldn't go too far, but you can just peek in there and you can see some of the holes that pot hunters have dug today, because they think mistakenly that they're going to find something. They don't know, because they don't bother reading that this has been completely excavated. But you're welcome to walk in there if you like. I wouldn't go too far, but if anyone wants to peek in there.